So someone asked the question if grihastas, or householders, can perform yajnam. Traditionally, according to the Shastras, it is grihastas who can perform yajnam, and sannyasis are not supposed to. So householders certainly are permitted to perform yajnam. As a matter of fact, it's considered a duty of the householders to perform various different daily, seasonal, annual, and lifetime fire ceremonies. Yajnam means sacrifice. We give something, we spend our time, we give offerings to God, we sacrifice. And through this practice, we're offering the faults of the instinctive mind, of the ego. We're offering our karmas into the fire, into the Lord's grace. And awareness, spiritual awareness, and divine qualities come back to us through this practice. Certainly, householders are permitted. In practice now, many sannyasis perform yajnam. When I had just taken sannyas, when I was wearing orange and living a celibate life, not working for money but begging only. Our Shastras say that if sannyasi is married or if he's working, that this is not what the orange robes indicate. The orange robes indicate a person who is living a life of celibacy and renunciation, so he's not working a job. He doesn't have a house to come home to. Maybe he lives in the Guru's ashram, or he's a wandering sadhu. This is the tradition. And our Shastras also say that if sannyasi is married or if he's working in the world, then that he should wear white. This is why now Swamiji wears white, to honor the sacred tradition of sannyas. But in practice, many sannyasis now, they will perform yajnam. Most order of sannyasi I've encountered perform yajnam, various yajnams. Maybe a few very strict orders. The Shankaracharya Swamis in India, perhaps in the mats, Sringeri mat, maybe they don't conduct havan or yajnam, I don't know. But many other Swamis certainly do. The Swamis of the Dashanami Sampradaya of Shankaracharya, they perform yajnam. I've seen many different orders of Swamis. The Puri Swamis, the Giri Swamis, I've seen performing yajnam. And sannyasis, of course, from other orders, we see often performing yajnam. If you type in yajnam in the YouTube, you'll see many people wearing the orange performing the fire ceremony. The traditional reasoning for prohibiting sannyasis from performing yajnam is because a yajnam is a longer ritual requiring several days of commitment, and one of the first stages in this ritual is the Ritvik Varanam, or the selection of the priests. And so they give the priest diksha, or initiation. They ordain him to perform this ritual, and once he's been ordained, he must stay. But the sannyasi he's not bound to anything in the world. Could be in the middle of the ritual, God says, go to the next town, and sannyasi has to leave. So he can't leave because he's bound to stay for the ritual, as not to bind the sannyasi to a worldly thing. It was the tradition for sannyasis not to perform the Vedic havans, the yajnam rituals. So it's the duty, the grihastas have to perform these, or there will be no one else to perform them. Now there is a difference also between the priestly rituals and the rituals of a householder. We talk about atmartha puja. Atmartha means for oneself. Atma, self. Atmartha puja is the puja done for oneself at home. You do for yourself and for your family. Traditionally, this is offered by the man of the house. There are many daily rituals, monthly rituals, seasonal rituals prescribed by Vedas. The basic ritual is Sandhya Vandanam. Sandhya Vandanam is the ritual offering water and saying Gayatri mantra each day. This is the basic ritual. After this only, you bathe first, you make the Sandhya offerings at the specific time, before sunrise, before midday, before sunset. At midday we call it Madhyanikam, is the name of the ritual. After this one we also perform Brahma Yajnam. These are the basic rituals. Only after these is a person considered qualified to perform any other Nitya Karmas. Before we do Abhishekam, before we do Nitya Puja, before we do Yajnam, we're supposed to do Sandhyam. Before you chant Vedas, Sandhyam must be, it's the basic offering. And the basic fire ritual in Vedic times is Agnihotram. For brahmacharis, the celibate student, there's extra rituals. Samhita Danam is offered by the brahmacharis. For the grihastha who's married, Alpasanam is a basic fire ritual, also daily ritual. Monthly rituals we have also. On the new moon we've got to make special offerings for the ancestors. There are many different basic rituals like these, prescribed by the Shastras for the householder. Also the priest in the temple performs these basic rituals for himself before then he can do his priestly duties. Perhaps if he comes to the temple, his first action there in the morning will be to perform Sandhya Vandanam and to say Gayatri Mantra. And then only he becomes pure to do the temple pujas. So in the temple we have a different type of puja. The home puja, Atmartha Puja. In the temple we have Parartha Puja. Parartha Puja is puja done for oneself. Parartha Puja is the puja done for someone else. This is the temple puja. It's a different ritual. Now we have to realize that now in Kali Yuga, people's intellect has decreased. People's minds are too dull to understand Vedas, to understand the Vedic versions of God. And so we have newer traditions. The worship that we follow now, the pujas, abhishekams, yajnams that we do now, they use the Vedic mantras, but it's from a later tradition. The gods are from the Puranic tradition, the Tantric tradition. The rituals come to us from these later scriptures, not the Vedic Brahmanas. The rituals we do now, like abhishekam to Lord Shiva, it comes from the Griya Sutras, the householder, and from the Agama Shastras, for the temple pujas. The way we consecrate the temple and conduct the fire ceremonies, people think this is a Vedic ritual. It's not. It's an agamic ritual. It's a later tradition. Because in Kali Yuga, people's intellect became very dense. They became more stupid and they couldn't understand the Vedic rituals. They couldn't recall all the mantras they need for the Vedic rituals. And so the rishis wanted people to remain connected to the energy of Vedas and to the Veda rishis. So they created the new tradition of puja, abhishekam, and havan that we practice now. But it's an important distinction between the puja done at home and the puja done in the temple. I've spoken before on the importance of having in your house a murti which is not too big. They say the murti which is 12 inches, I guess. This is about 32 centimeters maybe for my viewers in India. In your house, if you have a big house, maybe 12 inches murti only, no bigger. Smaller house, smaller murti. In the temple only can we have bigger murtis, and the reason is when the rituals are done, the prana pratishta, different rituals to consecrate and energize these murtis, it becomes too powerful to keep in one's house. If you have such a large murti, 24 inches in your house, then the Shakti will be too much. There's a reason people don't live in the temple. And people don't do the temple pujas in their house. There's a very good reason. There's a very good reason people don't take 2 bottles of aspirin for their headache They might take 2 pills, because 2 bottles will surely be poison. Medicine and poison is different only in dosage. The same thing which heals at one dosage in a higher dosage becomes poison. Same with the spiritual energies. People don't appreciate always the power of the mantra. But the mantra is very powerful like medicine, and we can take too much. If you've not been doing a mantra practice, and then you start doing a mantra practice, its energy affects you. It's not wise to start doing lots and lots of mantras after a long time of doing no mantra, because the mantra has an effect on consciousness. It starts pulling your consciousness up. And if you start too quickly, you'll fall back. It will get you out of balance. The analogy I often use is a train. If you were on a train, the train is in motion and you're walking, you're fine. You can walk as if you're standing on the ground outside the train. Because the train is in motion, your body is accustomed, your body is in motion. But if you're walking on the train and the train slows down, you'll fall. If you're walking on the train and the train speeds up, you'll fall in one direction or the other, because you're not accustomed to the speed there. When you chant the mantra, it accelerates your karmas. If you chant a lot of mantras, the karmas which your birth chart says you'll be experiencing toward the end of your life, you can experience in the beginning of your life even. Because when you chant the mantras, it quickens that process of your karmas coming up. It helps you to work through them, to release them, to resolve them. And so it's very important that when a person does a practice, that they start that practice slowly. Everyone should perform Yajnam. When I started to learn to perform Yajnam, I went to the Vedic priests. And they told me it was not possible for me to learn because I was not Brahmin. I was born in a different community, in a different religion, and so that it wouldn't be appropriate for me to learn. So a lot I learned myself, looking at Shastras by the grace of my gurus. My gurus blessed me. I learned to chant some Veda mantras and learned to conduct the ceremonies. Now I teach others about these by the grace of God. God had blessed me and taught me. Many blessings came from the goddess herself. The goddess Gayatri taught me Vedas and told me to teach other people Vedas, told me to teach women. One time I was in a temple, there was Durga Yajnam going on. And in this age of Kali Yuga, they say spiritual souls are reincarnating as women. And you see when you go to the temple, many women praying with great devotion, much bhakti, they're praying, praying, praying. And the men sitting outside, they're saying, oh, I don't have any faith, these superstitious women. Many times I've seen this, because the more spiritual souls in this Kali Yuga are being reincarnated as women. They're coming into the women's bodies. And so around the guru you see many women. In the temple you see many women, because these have more interest, the souls coming as women, in the spiritual things today. And so at this temple I saw the women, as per tradition, sitting back from the Homakund. They're watching with great devotion. They're being kept back. They're praying, praying, praying. Oh, Goddess Durga. Oh, Goddess. I can feel their bhakti. And then the men there, they're offering. Their wives have asked them to come. They're coming to please their wives. And once they walk away, they're saying, oh, this stupid, superstitious stuff. So the people with the most bhakti are being kept back. The people who don't have faith are putting bad energies into the Homakund, and this is being amplified. This is being projected outward by this mystical practice of Yajnam, being amplified, and the blessings coming not from the devas but from the asuras. The demons are being attracted by these demonic thoughts in the men. Oh, stupid women make me do this on a Sunday. I want to go to watch the baseball game, the football game instead, the cricket match. I want to watch instead. They're thinking these thoughts. Stupid, superstitious women, swaha. And so when this energy goes into the fire, it gets amplified. And I saw Goddess Durga crying and wanting for the women to come and make those offerings. And so I think it's right for women to perform Yajnam and for children to perform Yajnam. There are some reasons, maybe I'll talk in another video about this, reasons that women have traditionally been kept from performing these rituals. Women need to know about it before they perform. They need to know how it can affect them. They need to know the potential dangers, and they need to understand the process of dharma, karma, and sadhana. They need to understand these processes so they can safely do the sadhana. But the Yajnam is a very powerful, powerful ritual. The Homa Kund amplifies the energy of the mantra. The blessings of the devas when they come through are much more powerful. You can offer much more ghee, much more fruits, flowers, and mystical herbs into the fire. With a Yajnam, with a big fire, we can offer many, many pounds of herbs, and all of this provides a substance for the devas to send great, great Shakti into the world. This changes the karmas of all of society. When someone does Yajnam at home, they should do it on small scale. And they should do Japam first, and maybe Abhishekam second, and then Yajnam third, perhaps. Because the Yajnam is very powerful. There's a common misconception, perhaps, by people. They talk about mantra. They say you have to say mantra many, many, many times to get the siddhi of the mantra. They call this mantra siddhi. When the power of the mantra is unfolded through repetitive practice, say the mantra again, 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 and your mind gets in line with the energy of the mantra. And then the true power of the mantra comes out when it's recited. In the Shastras, they say for particular mantras, if using for a specific purpose, say this mantra 1,00,000 times. Say this mantra 100,000 times. Say this mantra 15,000 times. You'll have a child. You'll get married. You get this. You get that. You get a new job. They recommend these mantra sadhanas. You practice brahmacharya. You eat simple foods. And you say the mantra a certain number of times each day. Certain number of days. Certain number of times. And then they say that 1/10 of this amount could be if we put the mantra into the havan. And many people nowadays, they do both. They say 15,000 times and then 1/10 also. They'll do havan. And this is good. This is a good way to do the practice. But what is intended here is that the havan, the Yajnam, is 10 times more powerful. So you need 1/10 less of the mantra for the same results to occur. And so it's a very powerful practice to do havan. You can get the little copper havan kund pyramid shape and do Agnihotram in your house. There are simple rituals for the grihastha, the householder. It's a very good practice for all to do when we're doing a sadhana, when we understand how it works. When we're doing the mantra practice, if we've been doing puja, offering light to the deities, the next step logically would be to do Yajnam. It's a very good practice. We should not overdo this. We should be careful to make a distinction between those rituals done in the home for the blessing of the self and blessing of the family and those which need to be done in a public space. Too many resources go into a temple puja for one person to easily accomplish it, so the community comes together in a public space. Also, the energy is too much to have contained in the house. But surely, certainly, there's little better way that we could think of to empower the practice. If we're doing spiritual practice, if we have little time to do it, we may as well get the most out of it by doing Yajnam. And the peace of the world increases. So every child, every woman, every man, every person who has desire in their heart truly for peace of the world should do this practice regardless of their nationality, regardless of their varna, their caste, regardless of their religious upbringing. If they have the inclination to perform Yajnam, we should teach them. They should perform simple Yajnam rituals, Atmartha Yajnam, at home for the peace of the world. Om. Yajnena Yajnamaya Janta Devaha Thani Dharmani Pratamanya Sanne Tehanakam Mahimanas Sachante यत्र पूर्वे साध्याः सन्ति देवाः ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः।